we are here at this time, and we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this particular broadcast being brought forward through your internet collective consciousness. We would like all of you who are tuning in to this transmission right now to do simply allow yourselves to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius, so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all of the information that we have to share. Also understand that all of the information that we shall provide today is simply that of our perspective, our point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and souls. Our topic of discussion for this day represents the idea of the Oversoul. Now basically, if you were to look at the idea of the Oversoul, some may perceive this particular idea representing that of a great light, of a great essence that contains collective memory. And in that sense, that is indeed true. But the whole idea in that sense is that the Oversoul has many different levels and potentialities to itself. That when you are looking primarily at the Oversoul consciousness, you are looking at something that represents a splitting, a projection, a multitude of awareness. And that really is all that the Oversoul represents. That it is true that when one decides to retire from the physical body, and they have left the physical body and their essence remains, and the white light that they see is basically the tunnel effect that brings you back into the aperture, connecting you back into Oversoul consciousness. Now you could also look into the idea of the Oversoul as the parent soul, and you yourself being that of the progeny soul, or the child soul. And so again, this is something that has a capability of being reproduced even through yourselves. That it does require a very strong sense of mentality discipline, that it does require the idea of a great deal of training. But for those of you who are able to, for the example, enter a meditative state and are able to project your consciousness into other dimensional realities, this basically represents an Oversoul state. Because when you are actually going into those particular realities, for example, if you decide to project your consciousness to that of Egypt, and that you wish to see the Great Pyramids, being able to look at these beautiful marvels, and for example, standing at the very top of the Great Pyramid of Giza, that is a memory that is being projected and being experienced through that aspect of projection. And that when you bring that projection back into yourself, you therefore obtain the memories. So everything that represented that astral projecting experience about going to Egypt, about looking at the pyramids, about going up into the Great Pyramid of Giza, standing right at the top of the pyramid and looking across the desert, that represents the idea of a projection returning to you, and therefore you acting as the Oversoul, the parent soul, the host, pertaining to the idea of you receiving those memories as you project your consciousness. Now again, that is a very, very simple aspect as it relates to an Oversoul example. But when you decide, again, looking back at the example of passing, when you decide that the time has come, that you are therefore passing from your physical body, and you are returning back into the light, and you are coming back into the Oversoul collection, everything pertaining to memory is now therefore returned to you. So it is the idea of the projection is now returning back into the wholeness. Now the wholeness in that sense is not giving you an absence of what represents the idea of your personality. Your personality is not becoming absent. It is simply like the idea of taking an eyedropper and being able to drop a very small dew of water into the ocean once again. You are now part of that ocean. So you are in that essence the Oversoul itself. Because the Oversoul is the host. It is the parent soul. And therefore the parent soul is like a tether projecting that particular spawned child soul upon the planet Earth to have this particular life. To live a life, for example, 65 years altogether, and this person may have been a painter, a traveler, a journeyer, an explorer. And basically, coming back into the Oversoul, now the Oversoul has reabsorbed that aspect, that projection of itself, and it has now obtained the memories. And so this is primarily how the Oversoul functions. Now, if we are looking into the idea of mediation, mediation between the Oversoul and the conscious self is governed through the idea of what you would know as the higher mind or the higher self. And so therefore, the higher self is becoming your mediator. It is the architect between the Oversoul and between the idea of your conscious projected self. The higher self is already aware of the grid. It is already aware of the blueprint and of the map that represents your entire life, because the higher self is again the highest mediator, as it represents the idea of that of the Oversoul. They, in that sense, become one. And so your mediation comes from the idea of the higher self, the soul itself. And so, as you are moving into the aspect of understanding more about your life, the higher self again brings you breadcrumbs. It starts to leave a trail behind so that you are able to explore more what your life is entailing. But the whole idea again is that the higher self is the map maker. It is already aware of everything that you're going to do in your life, from the day that you are born to the day that you expire from the physical body, from the day that you return to the source that represents your Oversoul consciousness. So, the whole idea is that as your conscious projected self, being able to imbue yourself into this experiment, you are following, again, certain ground rules. Now, these ground rules, again, pertain to the idea of your earth life. You understand much of the physical ground rules, such as existing in a body, functioning with gravity, breathing in oxygen, breathing out carbon dioxide, allowing yourself to eat, to sustain yourself, allowing yourself to sleep, to regenerate the body, and to help you explore more of the natures of yourself, etc. But again, there are the universal laws that represent the law of free will, the law of karma, the law of equivalent exchange, the law of magnetism, of attraction and of repulsion, the law of light, the law of love, the law of cause and effect, the law of space and time. So these are therefore the particular universal laws that you are working with. And again, as this governs all of creation within the aspect of this dynamic universe, these are the laws that are helping you to maintain a scale, to maintain a balance. And so basically, all the Oversoul continues to do is no more different than what you would do as the host projecting their own consciousness to explore Egypt. As the host, are you getting involved personally with the affairs about what you are going through pertaining to that astral projection of yours? No. You are allowing the projection to guide itself and to flow in that particular way. You act as another particular body, but the host in that sense is not getting up and running over to Egypt and trying to save their projection in that particular way of speaking. The projection itself has its own intelligence based upon the host consciousness that has projected it. And so that again represents the idea of the relationship pertaining to the Oversoul and again the child soul or the spawn soul in that particular way of speaking. So everything that you are particularly doing on planet Earth relating to your experiences is all part of the enrichment that the Oversoul will once again retain in this particular way. Now, the Oversoul can be many different things. It does not always have to be what you would understand as a non-physicalized essence, even though in that sense that is what its true form is. But you can understand that there are beings that are contained in stasis. And what they have basically done is they have volunteered themselves to lay down their present body, keeping that in stasis. And what they will do is that often, at times, through some type of technological means, or again, conscious means, they will project much of their soul from their own body. They will pass their soul through the sun of your star system. That soul, once it is passed through the sun, will start receiving instructions through the sun pertaining to the idea of incarnate matters. And so, basically what you would understand is that much in regards to the fulfillment of your own spiritual contract, of your own soul agreement about living on this life, will come through the passage of the sun. Because this is where you would understand as the spirit realm, the overseers, in that way to be. The guardians of your star system, the experimenters, the masters, Whichever way you want to term it is fine. But basically, you will be passing through the sun. As you pass through the sun, you will now come upon the earth. You will now start to embody yourself, incarnate and ensoul yourself into the physicalized body of choosing. Now, the whole idea in regards to the choosing process, when you're actually coming down upon earth, is that the idea is that the earth herself, as the mediator, as the collector pertaining to this experiment, will start to show you opportunities of lifetimes. So basically, it's more so in the idea, very much, of a choose and pick screen. So if you were to imagine a television screen, a monitor like this, and being able to see flashes of different incarnate beings, you could again see them in the age of children, the age of young adults, the age of the elderly, etc. You can see them through the progression of the entire timeline. Your soul also understands the entire essence of what that soul, or what that, in that sense, body of your soul will start to experience through it. And you will therefore say, yes, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm connecting with. And so that is looking at some type of linearity as it pertains to your own selection. Mother Earth is showing you what's available in regards to your own preferences. And so through the preferences that you have shared through coming past the sun and coming into the earth, now you are able to select the body that is appropriate. You therefore select your body, and now the gestation period begins of the 49-day cycle, to where your soul completely, entirely enters, going into the seat of the soul, the pineal gland. And of course, then, at the time of 9 months, you are born into the world. And now, as soon as you pass the birth canal, you have now entered the grid. You have now entered the earth matrix. And now everything that pertains to that exact moment of you crossing that plateau, and in that sense allowing all of the astrological stamps to take effect, this is now you ensuing your physical life. And in that particular moment, as again, through everything that you are experiencing as that projection of a soul, in that moment, your life begins, and the Oversoul is now recording your memories in that particular moment and every other particular moment that you exist on planet Earth. So the Oversoul is a collector. It is an embodiment of everything pertaining to wisdom. Now, the Oversoul's job itself is to, again, function as a type of spawn soul for the grander creation, because there can be an Oversoul above that one. There can be another Oversoul above that one. There can be another Oversoul above that one. And so you are looking at it like branch extensions from a tree. That again, certain branches will go so far, there will be a joint, and then again, more branches will continue. So looking at it in the idea of a fractalized tree is one particular analogy about how the Oversoul operates. So, the whole idea is that when you conclude from this life, when you return back into the Oversoul, when the Oversoul in that sense is now able to accumulate your memories again, there will be a choice of selection pertaining to what you would consider to be the next incarnate experience. The Oversoul will therefore assimilate all of the information and decide, all right, I see that this projection of myself was indeed a very nice painter, was a great explorer, was a great journeyman. But now I feel that the energies are moving me into becoming a family man. And so now you will project yourself into another incarnation where you will follow that family man-based theme. Because this is what your Oversoul has basically decided in regards to what it would like to experience next. As we stated, the Oversoul is you. But again, you are looking at yourself on a much more higher level of consciousness. So the whole idea in that sense is that the Oversoul has a microcosm to macrocosm experience. So as we stated, you yourself can become an Oversoul if you are holding the ability to connect and to project yourself in other projections. So either one or many, based upon the capability and, shall we say, skillful disciplinary level of that host. So being able to multiply, bilocate in many different places at the same time, and being able to observe, like split screen effects here, many of those particular realities simultaneously. This can be in that sense quite challenging for many humans to do in this particular form. However, it is quite possible. Again, it all depends in regards to one's own mental, disciplinary levels, in regards to maintain focus, to maintain concentration, and of course to allow the flow to ensue and allow that experience to take place. So this primarily represents the idea that you are experiencing yourself in this host body as an oversoul, and that all projections are now moving out and gaining experience in that particular way. And as they conclude, they all return back into the host. The host has now accumulated all of that information, and now he is saying, wow, I don't really need to go to Egypt now, because I've already experienced it through this projection. I don't need to go to Indonesia right now, because I've already experienced it through projection. I don't need to do this, or I don't need to do that, because the projections have already experienced it for me. So that again represents the idea of the Oversoul. It represents accumulated wisdom, accumulated information that is coming through, and it is now therefore able to organize itself, arrange itself, pertaining to other experiences. Now, yes, it is fundamentally true that not everybody chooses to be an Oversoul. Some people simply wish to allow their own host essence to literally come through the sun and then again incarnate upon the planet. That is, of course, a choice. So again, it is all based upon a variety here. Not everybody has an Oversoul in regards to the idea of the Earth experience. That again, pure essence can simply come through the ethereal realms and basically pass its way into the star and come upon the planet. Again, you can refer to these as avatars, as deities in that way, or deities in the human body, which truly all of you are. But basically representing the idea of pure essence coming into the sun, passing through the sun, coming into the Earth experiment, choosing a life that is appropriate, and now being able to live that life. Now understand that the Earth herself is the decision maker. She is giving you the particular options of lifetimes that are available for you to choose. And basically there are many, but it is all based upon you being able to fit the criteria in that particular way. So if you feel that again you would like to investigate this a lot further pertaining to the Oversoul, we would recommend that again you are doing certain forms of simplistic meditations. Simplistic meditations where you can imagine yourself in different realms. They do not even have to be concurrent on Earth. And you are basically just being able to visualize, feel, immerse yourself into those particular realms. And imagining that, for example, you're on a beach and you're able to see yourself barefoot. And you're able to put your hands into the sand and feel the sand as it translates through your senses. Being able to touch the water, perhaps being able to cup your hands and drink it. Now, being able to do a simple thing like that is actually an Oversoul experience, because it is your own projection of consciousness that is moving you into this different realm of reality and being able to interact with it in this way. Once it has concluded, all of those memories stay with you. Congratulations, you just had an Oversoul experience by moving into a different reality and being able to take in all of the senses, all of the sights, everything that represents the experience, and have that unique encounter through a projection that is now coming back into you, that represents an Oversoul encounter. That's how simple it is. Now again, people have the capability, depending, once again, on their mental disciplinary level, to actually physically manifest a body that is in that sense astral in design. It is basically what many would refer to as a created body. It is actually quite possible to create a created body or a light body in that way and actually have it interact in the physical plane, where again the host is in a particular type of, shall we say, deep entranced state, and that they are actually able to physically incarnate themselves and build themselves a body that may look somewhat like them, or in that sense perhaps even something completely different, and that they're actually able to move into these particular aspects of experience based upon this created body. So it is working together with your own energies, it is working together with your own essence. To actually materialize your body can sometimes be something that is done with support. Again, a very adept mind holds the capability of being able to reference another body that they can actually experience and actually become in that state of vibration. So for example, if a female that we will term as Jenny here would like to manifest a created body, what they are basically doing is they are going into their own data banks and they are utilizing the aspect of a reference body. Now again, as we stated, certain guides and other certain mediators can actually help you to construct the body. But again, Jenny herself decides to utilize a body that references her. It can be another body that occurs in another different parallel life. Now what she is doing is she is basically spending time with this template body and getting an understanding of the template's body personality in regards to its own behaviors and capabilities. So again, all of these particular forms of aspects pertaining to the created body. Now that she understands the ins and outs pertaining to that particular body, she is now able to encase a portion of her own essence into this physicalized body. And that through her extreme aspect of mental discipline, she is able to manifest it into physical being. So basically being aware of all of the atomic and actually helping to create this and mold this, as she has a very vivid aspect of memory pertaining to what this template represents. And so she is now able to go into a very deep trance state and project a portion of her consciousness that will embody this particular template body. And now she will be able to experience herself as this entity, because she knows this aspect of a created body entity just as well as she knows herself. And so again, this is another oversoul experience, is that she is being able to project her consciousness into this referenced template body and have the experiences of it. So this particular template body has the ability to bend many of what you would know as the physical rules of your reality. It is very possible for a body like that to mind shift, what many of you refer to as shape shifting. Now basically in that sense, you can actually arrange the physicalized features of that light template body, that created body, in any way you see fit. If you wish it to all of a sudden have longer hair, if you wish to change the hair color, this can happen instantaneously because it is a created body. It is something that is being held together, atom by atom, through the idea of the aspect of thought. Again, it does require a very powerful mind to do this. It can also represent the idea that the changing of clothing can appear instantly. It can also represent the idea that this particular body can also teleport. It may also represent that if this is for something that was created as a spell in that way, that the aspect of the spell must follow a certain grid of outline in regards to how this is propagated. Now again, this has actually come together with many different forms of what you would know as cryptids upon your planet. We will not attempt to go too much off track, but the whole idea in regards to many different cryptids that actually exist on your planet has to do with this particular type of manufactured body, through the idea of a host entity and other particular entities that are assisting. But again, some particular grids can be created, a boundary. Just like in magic, you are able to create a circle that denotes the flow of power, and that everything must remain in that particular circle. Well, this can again happen in regards to a created body. A created body may only be limited in regards to the capabilities of what it's able to explore based upon the grid alignments that have been obtained in this way. And so again, Jenny is able to take that host body in regards to the parameters that have been assigned and being able to allow it to experience itself in this particular world, throughout this particular reality, based upon the parameters, the conditions assigned. That again gives one particular example of a created body, of a light body in that way, all depending in regards to how it's manufactured. So again, whether it is simply through pure consciousness, whether it is through the assistance of magic spells, where it is as the assistance of holographic technology, many different ways can come about in regards to its creation. However, that, therefore, is possible. That gives one other example of how you manifest the body, you are the host, you are the oversoul, and you are able to obtain everything from that particular matrix. So, in conclusion, we will state that the oversoul itself represents the collector. It is like a server. It is receiving all of the information and obtain the accumulated knowledge from its projections. It is very possible that many different people that have lived lifetimes upon your planet that may be quite well known, or even perhaps not, are able to project multitudes of different projections of their consciousness into other host bodies simultaneously. We would say that, for example, the being that you know as Nikola Tesla is actually doing this very form. He is actually projecting multitudes of his own projected consciousness into many different host bodies on the planet. Because much in regards to his knowledge, his accumulated wisdom will be helpful in regards to that effect. So that is what we want to share with you all today, pertaining to the idea of the Oversoul. I am Adronis of Sirius. Thank you again. Farewell for this timing, and we now return to the conduit. We will speak to you again, as now as forever, and all is one. Goodbye.